Folks, welcome. In this episode 11, Farmer James Vermont Mountainside Beekeeping, I'm talking about what I do, just a little something to keep these ladies going in a time period where we might be having an interruption of the nectar flow or pollen flow. So what I like to do is just keep them going with my little self-made pollen patties. And what I'll be doing today is adding a little bit this rocket fuel dry pollen patty. Well, actually, I'll be making the pollen patty with this rocket fuel dry pollen blend, as well as mixing it with 1-to-1 of a syrup blend. And what I'm hoping to do is just to keep their momentum going. Also, when I did my last inspections, as you saw out in the bee yard in the last episode, there will be a link down below for you to see what I've been doing over the last couple weeks as I've been transferring from packages to 5 frame, from 5 frame to 8 frame, and actually adding deeps to some of those colonies that are growing. Whether it's what I'm mixing up and adding to them, or Mother Nature, or the genetics, everything is sort of thumbs up with the majority of the hives, and that's a great thing. Some of my colonies didn't show growth, some of the queens didn't really show anything, but there were also some re-queen colonies that did show and are showing growth, and that's a plus. So I'm just going with that, and that's part of going with the flow. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. To give you an idea of how I'm mixing this blend, we're using a 2-gallon bucket, so I'm about this deep in the water in sugar syrup combination. So again, it's just a blend of that, and I'm going to, with that, as I knocked over, I'm going to add some of this Honeybee Healthy. All right, and that's my little added treat for these ladies. All right, so again, Honeybee Healthy, along with a sugar syrup 1-to-1, along with this dry pollen I got from Man Lake Rocket Fuel. That's little Apis Biologics. And then later on, I'll go into how I went in and inspected these colonies, as well as how I transferred and added deeps. But today I'm just trying to get through because it's a really nice, pleasant day. Today's in the 70s. It's going to get hotter next week. Colonies are doing well. So I'm just going to mix this up, and you can take a real quick peek in how I do that. All right. And again, welcome, Farmer James, Vermont Mountainside Beekeeping. Let's check out, see what I do. And so, yes, I should follow a recipe, but being a cook, I'm kind of going for consistency as if I'm making a soft dough, maybe a pizza dough consistency or bread dough consistency. So I'll add a little bit of the Honeybee Healthy. I'll add what I call a cup's worth of the Honeybee Healthy. And then I'm going to add 2 heaping scoops of the dry pollen powder. Well, you know what? Looking at it, I'm going to go for 3. If I need to add more water, we'll do that. So I'm going to go ahead and get a hive tool. I thought I was going to use one of those, but that doesn't sound like a good idea. So I'm going to use an extra hive tool I have to make it up. So I'm just going to stir it to get to that consistency that I want. And as you can see, it's starting to change. So I did add 3. I think I'm going to add 4. And I'm going to add another of that dry pollen blend. And if I'm ducking from time to time, to my right of the camera, I have bees that are basically eating up the drippings of sugar syrup that fell out. So while they're doing that, I'm taking advantage of doing what I'm doing, and that is giving them something. But I could see not enough, so I'm going to add even more pollen patty because I want a nice consistency And as you see, that one was a nice heaping one. And I'm going to do another heaping. So folks, that's probably 8 cups to what I did to get the consistency I want. And I'm hand stirring to get that consistency. And we're almost there. So I'm hearing this slop. Slop is getting to a noise level. And let's add some more. I really want to absorb the amount of liquid. And I have plenty of hives that I could give it to. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's get all of it in there. Let's just do that. Empty that out. Get all this mixed up. Because like I said, there's a certain consistency that I'm trying to achieve. So I could just add it on to colonies. And it's pretty much almost there. Okay. And what do I mean by almost there? So let's look at what we have here. As you can see, it's kind of drippy. And what I'm looking for is a little bit more solidity. We're going for that consistency right here you see on the side. See the difference in the two? That's really liquidy, and this is that consistency. So that's what I'm trying to achieve. So you kind of get the idea of what I'm going for, folks. And I don't want to take up too much of your time going in about that, but welcome, Farmer James for Mountainside Beekeeping. Just talking about how I'm preparing for these colonies that are doing a lot of crazy things. Yes, crazy things. No, I'm crazy. I'm just trying to get tamed and tell you about the little different things I'm doing. But look at these ladies. They're doing their little robin scene and catching all the drips. So that's telling me there's a little dearth going on out here. And that's why I need to do what I'm doing. So I'm going to be using these 8-frame boxes. I'm filling them up today because I'm transferring some of those colonies. Well, I'm actually adding deeps, to be honest, because some of those 5 frames are larger than I thought. And they're growing because there was a big. And now that flow has turned into something that is good as I'm trying to stumble through all of this maze of fun stuff. Get over here and show you a quick snippet. Yeah, because we have things going on. We have white clover. So it's clover time in the fields. But as you can see, there's something better. And what does that mean? There's something better. Well, if they're not going after these flowers, what are they going after? It's causing them to go further and further away from their hives. Okay, so there is a flow of some sort, but also there is going to be a dearth as we're getting ready for crazy weather, but maybe not. Maybe I'm making that up. Maybe there won't be a dearth. Maybe there will be a really nice flow. So that's what I'm going to go with. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now, getting this pollen patties ready. I'm going to be adding boxes. I'm going to be adding boxes to a few of these colonies to get them ready because they are growing more. So I'm pretty much going to add deeps. As you can see, some of these colonies already have deeps. In the front row, they've gotten deeps, and those are all the purple dot. So all the purple dot are the first wave of bees, and you can see, based on the back side, we have deeps already on those. If that single, yeah, that one there was a slow, that's a new queen because one package didn't make it. And these are all the pink dot. And some of the pink dots are growing a little faster than others, but they all have a deep on them at the moment. This one right here is really taking off, and there's a couple more. So my goal today is this back row of the last purple dots. We'll get another deep, and I already went through them and added deeps and inspected. And these are starting to build up, and these are the last wave of queens in the packages. And so they're in their deeps. and they are growing, and I'll probably place another deep on them. And the Vermont stock, as you can see, this one right here, that third one, okay, that third one is really doing all right. Comparatively, right there, there's a new queen in that box is going. That's a dud. I'll add that and mesh that. But those others are growing, and I put supers on them. So overall, things are happening. Things are going pretty good. And that's what I'm excited about. As you can see, the bees are actively working. They're actively flying. They're doing their thing. So it's really nice to see that some of the things that I've introduced are working. That means, you know, what you can check out my other videos. All right, and you'll see my dot system. You'll also know and have a little bit of clarity of why I do what I do with my dots and my tape on lids and so forth. But these ladies are being treated like super athletes because they are moving like a super athlete. They're burning a lot of energy, so I'm trying to replace that energy. And you're seeing what I'm doing with the blend of Dr. Carlson's, also the Honeybee Healthy I mixed to make my own pollen patty blend. And I'll drop that on the tops of the frames and let it soothe down, and they'll just gobble that up. Give them something to do. And hopefully later on I can enjoy some of my garden stuff. And that garden stuff are these delectable strawberries. And I can't wait to do that. And these blueberries are growing. So everything's happening. Everything is growing. Bees are good. Been eating them, feeding them with the dog. The dog loves them. But I got to get back to work. Right there. Here's my little work tent. Stay out of the shade. Again, Farmer James, Vermont Mountainside Beekeeping. Like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think I should do. You want to see more bees? I will be showing that. I did promise you all a bee inspection. I'm just trying to get work done before the heat wave. Trying to get these bees fed because there was a little dearth. But they know that, and I know there's a nectar flow. I've been seeing it out there. It is great. It's going to get better. Things are in bloom. As you see, my elderberries back there are blooming like crazy. So that's a good sign. So that means Mother Nature's blooming a lot of things out there. We have the mountain roses that are going crazy. We have mullein. We have the linden basswood should be doing something very soon. We have sumac. That staghorn sumac is busting. So the ladies are going bonkers. They're finding those sources that keep them going. I did a little shuck and drive in some of these hives when I added the deeps. In that shuck and jive, what I did was I needed to checkerboard, and I brought up to the upper deeps some brood, solid brood, because man, some of these ladies are laying really well. And over here, I took actually solid frames because this hive here, that hive, man, solid frames at least 6 to 7 plus. So I did take frames out and I transferred around some of these smaller cavities. Just trying to give a boost to some of these back row to catch up, as well as this one right here. Next to the purple is a new queen laying, and that's one of the requeen ones that they made because through open mating, that requeen. Through open mating, that's one of the failures of the packages, so you can see how things are progressing. As well as next to these two, they're progressing kind of slowly, but they're getting better. So I gave them a boost out of these big hives to slow them down because we have a flow coming up. And I don't want them freaking out and thinking about swarming. Although scientifically proven, swarming is proven to be a very good thing for hives and colonies. But these are fresh queens, so I don't know if I really want swarming this year. Maybe next year, but not this year. I'm not really concerned about honey, but just healthy colonies. So if they do it, they do it. I'll just keep on top of making sure I have healthy bees. And as you can see, folks, the bees are displaying signs of activity that is, to me, a good sign of health because they need the energy to get out there. They need the energy to maintain a good for themselves. And I'm trying to also bring aware as I zoom in that activity so you could visually see that activity and energy they are expelling to get out to that nectar flow. So I'm trying to replace it and complement it because it is more nectar than pollen coming in. And as you folks may or may not know, pollen is brood food. So I'm trying to really build up these colonies, not for a honey flow in the fall, but to build them up for the winter, as we are very close to the month of July. And that means all in, all out. Must be all out. Let's go all out. So that's what I mean. Getting these collies to go full out, giving them the energy to stay out and come back and keep going out, those foragers, giving those new brood enough pollen, also those queens to stay fat based on the royal jelly that the other bees will make for her, and feed those babies. So yeah, that's why I'm adding the pollen. I don't see it coming in as much as I like, as much as they are getting more nectar than pollen. So I'm just trying to complement, supplement, and hopefully keep them going. Not trying to reinvent, but just complement, folks. Again, this is what I'm doing. Like, subscribe, leave me know down in the comments, and let me know by subscribing that you like what I'm saying, because I'm showing something that is positive to the beekeeping community, to the apiculturist community, nationwide and worldwide, because that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to create. And I'm hoping I do one or the other in doing that creative work that I do, and that is mostly through the knowledge that I've learned from the science of the honeybees. Farmer James for Vermont Mountainside Beekeeping. Like, subscribe, folks.